Hare Krishna, thank you for joining this morning Bhagavatam class and 10th chapter. Let's make a start. We were talking about Dhruv Maharaj's uncle, now Priyavrata, and he was very renounced in life. He is renounced from material life, but he's been asked to become a grista, and his father asked him, Sambhuva Manu, and Priyavrata, he refused his father. He says, no, I'm happy the way I am. I don't want to become a grista. So now his grandfather, Brahmaji, has come to speak to him, to explain to him why they need him to become a grista. So let's continue. Hare Krishna. So Sri Sukadev Goswami continued, telling Maharaj Parikshit, the first created being and most powerful demigod in this universe is Lord Brahma, who is always responsible for developing universal affairs. Born directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he dedicates his activities to the welfare of the entire universe. For he knows the purpose of the universal creation. This supremely powerful Lord Brahma, accompanied by his associates and the personified Vedas, left his own abode in the highest planetary system and descended to the place of Prince Priyavrata's meditation. It is understood from previous explanations that the father of Dhruv Maharaj, King Uttanpad, ruled over the universe because his elder brother Priyavrata practiced austerity. So Priyavrata is actually the elder brother of Uttanpad, Dhruv Maharaj's father, but because he was renounced, Uttanpad was made the king. Thus, upon to the point of Prachetas, the kings of the universe were all descendants of Uttanpad Maharaj. Since there was no suitable kings after the Prachetas, so this was the reason, Sambhuva Manu went to the Madan Hill to bring back his eldest son, because there is no one else left to rule. Priyavrata, who was meditating there, Sambhuva Manu requested Priyavrata to rule over the universe. But when he refused, then Lord Brahma descended from the supreme planetary system known as Satyalok to request Priyavrata to accept the order. Lord Brahma did not come alone. He came with other great sages like Marichi, Atreya, and Vashisht to convince Priyavrata that it was necessary for him to follow the Vedic injunctions and accept the responsibility of ruling over the world. Lord Brahma also brought with him the personified Vedas, his constant associates. So Lord Brahma is determined to persuade Priyavrata to become a king, become a grasta, become a family man. So he has brought other people with him, so that together they could convince him. Let's pray. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukham Kroti Vachalam Pangum Lam Yate Gurim Yat Kirpatam Hamande Shri Guru Din Taranam Param Ananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishram Hari Om Tassat. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narotamam Devim Sasvitum Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriyat Nasta Precha Abadreshu Nitam Bhagavad Sevya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Neshtaki. So Lord Brahma, the Supreme Person within this universe, said, now Lord Brahma is speaking to Priyavrata. He said, my dear Priyavrata, kindly hear attentively what I shall say to you. Don't be jealous of the Supreme Lord, who is beyond our experimental measurements. All of us, including Lord Shiva, your father, and the great sage Maharishi Narad, must carry out the order of the Supreme. We cannot deviate from his order. So he's telling you basically that this is not our decision. This is the order of the Lord, and He wants you to do this. One cannot avoid the order of the Supreme Personality Godhead, not by the strength of severe austerities and exalted Vedic education or the power of mystic yoga, physical prowess, or intellectual activities. Nor can one use his power of religion, his material opulence, or any other means, either by himself or with the help of others, to defy the orders of the Supreme Lord. This is not possible for any living being, from Brahma down to the ant. So Priyavrata might argue that Lord Brahma was requesting to accept family life and the responsibility for ruling a kingdom, although Narad Muni had advised him not to enter household life and be entangled in material affairs. So originally, this is what Narad Muni does. He goes around telling everyone that, just do devotion service, just worship the Lord, don't get involved in family life. And now he's been told the opposite. Whom to accept would be a puzzle for Priyavrata, because both Lord Brahma and Narad Muni are authorities. So he's in a dilemma. So who should he go with? Whose instructions should he see as more appropriate, or as higher? Because if he's whoever instruction he follows, and he's sort of letting down the other person, saying, I don't agree with your instructions. So under the circumstances, the use of the word Manisha is very appropriate, for it indicates that since both Narad Muni and Lord Brahma are authorized to give instruction, Priyavrata should neglect neither of them, but should use his intelligence to follow the advice of both. To solve such dilemmas, Srila Rupa Goswami has given a very clear conception of intelligence. He says, Anastasya Vishyan Itharam Upyanta Jataha Nirbandha Krishna Sabande Yuktam Viragyam Uchate. So Vishayan, material affairs should be accepted without attachment, and everything should be dovetailed with the service of the Lord. And I think this is what we were discussing before. That is real intelligence, or Manisha. Becoming a family man or king in the material world is not harmful if one accepts everything for Krishna's service. That necessitates clear intelligence. Mayavadi philosophers say, Brahm Satyam Jagan Mithya. This material world is false and only the absolute truth is real. However, an intelligent devotee in the line of Lord Brahma and the great sage Narad, or in other words, in the Brahma Sampradaya, does not consider this world false. That which is created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be false. But using it for enjoyment is. Everything is meant to be enjoyed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad-Gita, Bhaktaram Yagyatapsam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Proprietor and Enjoyer, and therefore everything should be dovetailed for his enjoyment and service, regardless of one's circumstances, favorable or unfavorable. One should use everything to serve the Supreme Lord. That is a perfect way to use one's intelligence. So this is interesting. So he can become a king as long as he's doing it as a duty. I think we discussed that as well. As long as he's doing it as a duty and not for his own pleasure. My dear Priyavrata, by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all living entities accept different types of bodies for birth and death. Activity, lamentation, illusion, fear of future dangers, and happiness and distress. So this is part and parcel of what we accept as, when we have material bodies. My dear boy, all of us are bound by the Vedic injunctions to the divisions of Varnashrama according to our qualities and work. These divisions are difficult to avoid because they are scientifically arranged. We must therefore carry out our duties of one ashrama dharma, and his duty is to be a kshatriya, being a kshatriya to rule, to lead. Like bulls obliged to move according to the direction of a driver pulling on ropes, not to their noses. So that's how we actually seen that we are driven by the three modes of nature, by our psychophysical nature. So whatever we do according to our nature. We don't have any control as such. We each get a body according to our association with the gunas, the qualities of modes of material nature, and we act accordingly. As stated in Bhagavad-Gita, the four orders of the social system named Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra are arranged according to guna and karma. Their qualities and work, there is some controversy about this. However, because some say that since one receives a body according to the guna and karma of his past life, it is one's birth that determines his social status. Thus, then, they say that the four divisions of the social order, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, should be arranged according to the guna and karma of this life. This version is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam by Narad Muni. So since one can change his gun and karma even in this life, he says here. Thus, they say that the four divisions of the social order, Brahman, Kshatriya, should be arranged according to the guna and karma of this life. Well, we can certainly change the mode that we are controlled by. We can change that. That's for sure. So we're aiming for the mode of goodness. We may be in ignorance or passion. We want to move into mode of goodness. This version is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam by Narad Muni. While instructing Maharaj Yudhishthira about the symptoms of guna and karma, Narad Muni said that these symptoms must govern the division of society. In other words, if a person born in the family of a Brahman has symptoms of a Shudra, he should be designated as a Shudra. Similarly, if a Shudra has Brahmanical qualities, he should be designated a Brahman. So, well, in society, people don't accept that somebody who's a Shudra should be accepted as a Brahman. That really does not happen. But this is the Vedic instruction that your nature should determine your one ashram, not your birth. My dear Priyavrata, according to association with different modes of material nature, the Supreme Personality Godhead gives us our specific bodies and the happiness and distress we achieve. One must therefore remain situated as he is and be conducted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, exactly as a blind man is led by a person who has eyes with which to see. Excuse me. So we can't see, then we must follow the instructions of the Lord. So because if we are blind to the real direction, then we need somebody with eyes to help us to guide us. Even if one is liberated, he nevertheless accepts the body he has received according to his past karma. Without misconceptions, however, he regards his enjoyment and suffering due to the karma the way an awakened person regards a dream he had while sleeping. He thus remains steadfast and never works to achieve another material body under the influence of the three modes of material nature. The difference between a liberated and conditioned soul is that the conditioned soul is under the concept of bodily life, whereas a liberated soul or person knows that he is not the body but a spirit. different from the body. So Priyavrata might have thought that although a conditioned soul is forced to act according to the laws of nature, why should he, who was far advanced in spiritual understanding, accept the same kind of bondage and impediments to spiritual advancement? To answer this doubt, Lord Brahma informed him that even those who are liberated do not resent accepting in the present body the results of their past activities. While sleeping, one dreams many unreal things, but when he awakens, he disregards them and makes progress in actual life. Similarly, a liberated person, one who has completely understood that he is not the body but a spirit soul, disregards past activities performed in ignorance and performs present activities in such a way that they produce no reactions. So they are saying to him that so you perform your activity in a not in the way that you think you be performing, but in a way that you are not attached to them. So it's following the same thing, that you don't become attached to your activity, although you are expected to do it because you are a kshatriya. Due to your past karma, you have your varnashma. You are born in a kshatriya family, and you have the tendency, or you need to lead, or it's whether he has a tendency or not remains to be seen. But it's a requirement of the day. It's an emergency requirement that he must lead. So, he's asked to do this, but without getting attached to it. So it's quite complex situation. I think even he doesn't know whether he can lead or not. He definitely doesn't want to mentally. He's not prepared to lead or take on this service. It's like a service that we are given service in the temple. There's some service we might not think we can do or we want to do, or we think it's not in our nature. But sometimes, for emergency's sake, we have to do those services. It's an emergency requirement. Even if he goes from forest to forest, one who is not self-controlled must always pay up until bondage, because he's living with the 6 co-wives, the mind and the knowledge-acquiring senses. Even a household alive, however, cannot harm a self-satisfied learned man who has conquered his senses. So Priyavrata is afraid that he might lose his bhakti, his spiritual standard, but he's been assured that if you keep control of your mind and the senses, then that won't happen. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung Griheva Banete Thake Ha Guranga Bale Dake. Whether one is situated in the forest or at home, if he's engaged in the devotional service of Lord Chaitanya, he's a liberated person. Here, this is also repeated. So they're assuring him that you will not lose your bhakti. For one who has not controlled his senses, going to the forest to become a so-called yogi is meaningless, because his uncontrolled mind and senses are going with him. And this is, Prabhupada also instructed everyone to do this, that don't go and think I'll leave my family and go to Vrindavan, because your mind and senses will go with you, and you will do the same nonsense that you're doing here up there as well, because who's in control? Your mind and senses are in control. If you have not controlled them, then they'll be controlling you. Formerly, many mercantile men from upcountry of India used to go to Bengal. And thus there is a familiar saying, if you go to Bengal, your fortune will go with you. Our first concern there should be to control the senses. And since the senses cannot be controlled unless engaged in devotional service of the Lord, our most important duty is to engage the senses in devotional service. Rishikesha Sevram Bhakti Uchate. Bhakti means engagement of the purified senses in the service of the Lord. So we purify our senses by chanting, and doing devotional service. So, and the only way to purify the senses is by this method, by doing gyan or yoga. You can control the senses, but you cannot purify them. If you are control the senses, mean it's like holding a spring down, holding spring down. You're just controlling the spring down. But once you let it go for some reason, it will bounce up even faster or higher than it was before because it's been restricted. So the only way is to purify the senses is by bhakti. So in this case, Priyavrata, he has been doing a lot of bhakti, so his senses should be purified. He just has to maintain that. One who is situated in household life and who systematically conquers the mind and five sense organs is like a king in his fortress who conquers his powerful enemies. After one has been trained in household life and his lusty desires have decreased, he can move anywhere without danger. Lord Brahma continued, my dear Priyavrata, seek shelter inside the opening in the lotus of the feet of the Lord, whose navel is like a lotus. Thus conquer the six sense organs, the mind and the knowledge acquiring senses. Accept material enjoyment because the Lord extraordinarily has ordered you to do this. So they're saying that we're not saying this. This comes from the higher authority. So you need to accept it. You will thus always be liberated from material association, be able to carry out the Lord's orders in your constitutional position. So our actual duty is to carry out the supreme order of the personality of Godhead. If we are fixed in our determination to carry out the supreme personality of Godhead order of the Lord, we are always secure. So if an order is coming from the Lord himself, then he will also protect us as well. We are always secure regardless of where we are situated, whether in hell or in heaven. Herein the words Prakritim, Vajaswa are very significant. Prakritim refers to one's constitutional position. Every living entity has the constitutional position of being an eternal servant of God. Therefore, Lord Brahma advised Priyavrata, be situated in your original position as an eternal servant of the Lord. So, you do your service as a servant leader, not, I'm the king, I'm the Lord, everyone. You just do it as a service, as a servant leader. You're leading because that's your service. Every living Brahma, every living entity has a constitution of being an eternal servant of God. Therefore, Lord Brahma advised Priyavrata, be situated in the original position as an eternal servant of the Lord. If you carry out his orders, you will never fall, even in the midst of material enjoyment. So material enjoyment achieved by dint of one's fruity activities differs from material enjoyment given by the Supreme Personality Godhead. Wow, that's interesting. So material enjoyment achieved by dint of one's fruitive activities differs from material enjoyment given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these are two different things. A devotee sometimes appears to be in very opulent position. So here's given example. A devotee sometimes appears to be in a very opulent position, but he accepts that position to follow the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if you are dovetailing everything in the Lord's service, then you can still enjoy it, but you're enjoying doing the service, not enjoying your senses. But he accepts that position to follow the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you enjoy the service to please the Lord. That's important as well, to say that you're enjoying pleasing the Lord. Therefore, a devotee is never affected by material influences. The devotees in the Krishna conscious movement are preaching all over the world in accordance with the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They have to meet many karmis, but by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are unaffected by material influences. So Srila Shukadeva Goswami continued, after this being instructed by Lord Brahma, who is the spiritual master of the three worlds, Priyavrata, his own position being inferior, offered obeisances, accepted the order, and carried it out with great respect. Wow. So it looks like that nobody else had to say anything, had to speak. Lord Brahma was enough to convince him. He put such a great argument before him that this order comes from the Supreme Lord. It's not I'm not telling you this. The Lord himself is telling you that you have to do this. It's very important. It's a requirement. Whether you feel you can do this or not, there is nobody else. It's like sometimes in the temple, there's nobody else to do the kirtan, and you ask somebody, can you please do some kirtan? And they say, no, I can't do kirtan. But he said, look, just do, maybe just do the Prabhupada tune or something. Just do something, or please play the kartals best you can. So, if there's nobody else, then what do? You have to do it. So he was asked to do the service because there really was not anybody else appropriate to take on that service. And he was in order, and he's asked to do it as a duty, that don't get engrossed in it, control your mind and senses, don't get too deep into this, just do it as a service, and you won't have any problems. You'll be able to maintain your spiritual life, your spiritual level, you'll be able to go back home, back to Godhead. So thank you so much, Praveen Mataji, Sarvashriya Mataji, thank you for joining.
And iPhone is on join as well.
Who?
iPhone.
Okay. All right. Let's see, have a little discussion on this. Maybe Praveen Mataji, what do you think? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Yes, very nice. Thank you so much for doing the class, Prabhuji. It is shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. Whatever we do, we just have to engage our senses and everything to serve the Lord, because He's the protector and maintainer, and anything that comes in our way, we have to, like you gave an example, like if you're asking somebody to do the kirtan, and that's how actually I see, if somebody asks me to do something, I always say yes, because somebody's asking, and we should take the opportunity and not get attached to it, but do the duty and carry on. And then again, it said about like a blind person needs someone to guide. So again, here it's an indication to have a guru who can guide us in the right direction, because they have seen the truth. And what else did we discuss? About not to be jealous of the Lord and accept, whatever comes in our way. And Lord Brahma is telling Priyavrata, he can't think that on the strength of austerities he can get out of this. So basically, it is, don't get attached to the material bondage and stay connected with the Lord, then everything is fine, which we have seen from our example as well. So when, serving senses, don't enjoy senses on your own, but when we cook prasadam and we enjoy the prasadam, so that way it is purified, our senses are purified because we are cooking to please the Lord. So everything should be dovetailed to the Lord, and then life is very, very happy and easy. And yeah, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. You're absolutely right. So about prasadam, they say that obviously, if it's tasty, you're going to enjoy it. It's natural, isn't it? And so we enjoy it because it's prasadam, not because, oh, this is tasty food. We enjoy it as prasadam, and then it's okay, right? It's okay because, oh, this is remnants of the Lord, it's mercy of the Lord, and you enjoy it like that. So naturally our senses are going to pick up on things. They are knowledge acquiring senses. They're going to pick up on things. Oh, this is good, this is not good, this is a good smell, this is not a good smell. It's like, oh, I don't like this, I like this, you see. So naturally, but you just like try and keep it connected to Krishna, like we do with the prasadam. That this is prasadam, this remembrance of the Lord. So you try and keep it connected to Krishna, and then it's that's what we aim to do, to keep everything connected to the Lord, and with the service as well. That I mean, to be honest, it does happen. We're only human, and like somebody giving authority, not only in our mission, we see in other missions as well. Sometimes they get a bit carried away with that authority, and they might abuse their position. But then that's not servant leader, right? That's not servant.
Yeah,
You have to lead
yeah,
like a servant, not like authority. Now I'm authority on this, and people have to follow me, do as I say. And you shout at them, you do this, do that, and you follow my word. Why don't you listen to me? You ask people in a humble way, and politely, keep politeness, and use your words correctly. And sometimes people do forget that, no doubt. They do forget that once they're given a position, that they start ordering people and upset people, and then that's not good service. Then you're not pleasing the Lord by, you think, oh, well, I'm doing this service for the Lord, but if you're upsetting devotees, you're upsetting other people, then that's, as far as I'm concerned, that is not good service, and you're not pleasing. I think you're doing more harm to your bhakti than good.
definitely. Yeah. No, and like I did question this thing, because I felt like sometimes it is misused, because then if you offer to do once and then they think like they can just take it for granted. So I did ask one Mataji here locally, and I said, Mataji, do you think it is? Oh, she said, yeah, it does happen. So then from then that time, I also take care, how much I accept what I can do. Like you said, it can be misused, because then they think, okay, if she's cooking so much, so she can carry on. And then it should be shared responsibility. And then like I do cook whenever I can. Like today we're celebrating Radhashtami, so I volunteered to make 3 things, because we only have congregation of 70-80 people here. So I do, but then I did realize at one point, like, no, maybe I have to control as well, what I want to do. And now I wanted to do it Radhashtami. I said, yeah, I want to do everything. I want to make this. So yeah, so we still have to be careful, but then I still try to do whatever comes my way, and we accept it is coming from Krishna.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, as long as you're doing if you are giving a service, you're doing it happily, then it's good. But if you think you're doing it because you've been sort of forced to do it, or you don't really want to do that much, and
No, then there's no point doing it. Yeah.
then it's
And
really.
then there's no point feeding people with that sort of attitude. We do with love, because that's how it's going to be. People's consciousness is affected, because I can see the difference now, because my daughters, they don't offer, shad. So I mainly cook when I'm there, or I take food from here. But this time, like, they made a cake. I didn't enjoy it because it was not offered to Krishna, but I knew to keep peace, I had to take it. But I gave half of mine to Prabhu, and she realized I've done that. And because I took everything else I offered, and then I take food. And then she refused to eat my gulab jamun because I didn't eat their cake. And she gave half to my daughter, Priya, younger one. She said, then Priya was telling me, she said, Mom, Saita Didi didn't eat the whole gulab jamun because you didn't eat her cake. I said, well, it's okay. But I don't know whether you felt it, Prabhuji, because it does, I feel like it tastes better when it is offered to Krishna. So,
Definitely, definitely.
yeah. So,
offer in your mind.
yeah, it is like, so, because when we are trying to engage our mind in his service, then yeah. But Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you so much. Sarvashya Mataji. Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Um, as one lives in the forest or home, the most important thing is to control the senses. And to control the senses, you have to control the mind. The mind is the center point of the senses. And if one can engage the senses in Krishna's devotional service, like 9 devotional service, Shravan Kirtan, Vishnu Shabran. He can live in other forest or he can live. The main thing is to control your senses. Your senses are not controlled, you won't get any peace. Priyavrata was a pure devotee and a grandson of Lord Brahma. So he was fully Krishna conscious. But by listening to Narada Muni, he decided to go to the forest, and then Lord Brahma ordered him to come, and because there was nobody to rule the kingdom, so he had to do his duty. There's a person who is too attached to family life cannot develop Krishna consciousness, but by the grace of Supreme Personality, Godhead, or by his past karma, he becomes a devotee. And if you try to recover duty, then Krishna helps you. And there are 8,400,000 living entities in material world. And one is fortunate to get a human body, because with this human body, we can do the devotional service, and we can go to back to Godhead, or we can engage ourselves in fruitive activities or sense engagements, and then we go down to the lowest region. That's why Prabhupada, his mission was to make everybody Krishna conscious. So they stop suffering in this world, go back to Godhead. And people have material mind. He wanted people to have a Krishna conscious mind. So that's why he wrote so many books, and chanting on the street and giving prasadam. He tried everywhere, the different ways how he can attract people to become a devotee, because he was very, very kind, and he can see people suffering in this world. And then they offer the ashrams, the grihastha, I think the sannyasi, they were okay. But if they have no grihastha ashram, we can't have no devotees. All the devotees, all the assorted devotees, they come from grihastha ashram. Like Rup Goswami came from Sanatan Goswami, he's a father, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Prabhupada himself. So, and then we see on the line so many devotees, so exalted devotees, and they all come from the Grahastha ashram. So I think Grahastha ashram is very nice. And they, not now, but in before the Grahastha ashram's duty was to provide for the sannyasis and the brahmacharis. But now everybody is waiting. We haven't got any ashrams left now. But we can only try to chant round, do devotional service. I know it's very hard in this material world, what is going on, we can't do it. But at least let's try, we can try and do as much as we can. So if we try, Krishna will help us. So what Priyavrata, he was the Krishna conscious person, but he thought, if Brahma tells me he must come and do his duty, so he must obey a spiritual master, which is good obey. He never disobey one into the four opposites. Second, I think, is to obey disobey the spiritual master. So that's Priyavrata, and then he had sons after that. We will not discuss it in coming that way. If he wasn't Krishna conscious, how his sons will become Krishna conscious? So it just tells us that how a person can be a Krishna conscious and do the duty at the same time and never forget Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. I mean, Priyavrata, he was like in a dilemma. He's thinking, look, I am doing devotional service to the Lord, best thing you can do. I've given material life. And then why does the Lord, okay, and he was like confirmed that it's the Lord's order. Why does he want me to go back into Gresta life? That's like, you want to answer that, do you? Okay, go.
Hare Krishna. I think Lord felt that Priyavrata was the appropriate candidate to lead the kingdom, to rule his his father's kingdom, because he was showing all the qualities, actually what should be in appropriate leader, appropriate king, and he had actually got all the godly qualities. Like Krishna has got the renunciation as a sixth opulence, and Priyavrata, following Narad's instructions, he had molded himself into, all the perfect qualities for a ruler. And I think that Lord must have felt that he has got all the qualities, so why shouldn't he lead? And also, I wanted to say that from this pastime, my take-home point today will be that whatever we are having to face or happening in our life is because of our maybe past karma, or the present arrangement of the gunas we are in, the modes, they're affecting us. But if we understand that whatever is happening is, after all, because of the sanction of the Lord. So we might be desiring one thing, or our karma might be dictating something in our life, but if only Lord sanctions it, that's particular arrangement happens in our life. So if we do our best, thinking that is Lord's that's what Lord order for the day or the moment in our life, then life will be wonderful. I think in Priyavrata's case, by giving this pastime, Lord has actually shown us that we should take, just like Priyavrata had to take it as Lord's instruction. What was his mind was dictating something else was happening in his life. He was prepared to do something, but he was asked to do something else, which is completely opposite. Similarly, we also feel sometimes, don't we, as devotees now, that we want to do this, but because of our situation in our life, or our material position at that moment, we are forced to do something else. So, but if we take everything as Lord's instructions and think that that is sanctioned by the Lord, that is what is appropriate for us, then I think we can't go wrong. It's just that because of our senses, our six co-wives, as it was beautifully put here, our six co-wives don't leave us alone. They want us to dance to their tune. So that's what I understood. Correct me if I took anything wrong.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Krishna knows what is best for us. We think, this is A is best for us, but he thinks B is best for us. So I think we need to accept. And same by one, Kesha Maharaj, he said we should be equal in success and failure. We should see them as equal. Each situation should be seen arrangement of the Lord to teach us something. Whether we are successful, we shouldn't get overexcited. And if we have failure, or as he calls it, success in failure. So, we can learn something from our failure as well. And we see that as the arrangement of the Lord to teach us something, to advance us. So each thing should be seen equal. So instead of following the guidance of our mind and senses, follow the guidance of the scriptures, of the authorities, and then that is the way to advancement. So thank you all so much. We'll do a couple of rounds, and Sarveshi Mataji, and then Praveen Mataji, please. Hare Krishna.